Can you take the child into the house? Go on, let's go with Tia. Bye bye, darling. Mummy loves you. Shut the door. Oh my God. So, sorry, madness in my house. When I first started recording these videos, I don't know if you can remember, for those of you who've been with me since day one, but I recorded a video, I want to say like day 6, called You Might Have a Me Too Movement on Your Hand. On your hands, something like that. Anyway, at the time, there were quite a few people that said to me, "Oh, Shireen, don't you think you're exaggerating? In all honesty, do you not think that by the time, give it a few weeks and the dust would have settled and this whole thing about Black Lives Matter and would have just died out a little bit?" And I said, this is not about the media coverage of what's going on. This is about when employees start to use their voice. And I'm going to use an example of this. I will put the handle in the caption later on, because I don't have my phone, because I've got like a social media blocker to make sure that at the weekend I'm only allowed to be on social media for like an hour, and then after that you don't see me, so I can't even go and get the proper handle, but I will include it later on. And there's a handle, Instagram feed, I think it's something like Black at Nike, and it is basically employees anonymously feeding in some of their experiences about racism, discrimination and prejudice. It's Black at Nike, but it's like all sorts of people are sharing their stories, but particularly Black, minorities, Indigenous people, Latinos, everybody is kind of going and. Now, the thing that I want to talk about is, and that's why I've called this video kind of, something along the lines of, if the walls of your business could talk, what would it say? Do you know what I mean? And, we're moving away from employees waiting patiently for you as leadership teams to show up and show that you are serious about eradicating systemic racism in your business. We've moved away from employees waiting patiently for you to get your PR statement nailed down so nobody can pick it apart before you press send and go and send it out to the world. We've also moved on from employees not feeling like they can't talk about their experiences within your business, because there are different ways to do it now that means that they can do it anonymously. We've got used to the glass door of a business, but actually that's not enough for some employees, particularly for brands who can attribute part of their success to Black culture, the Black pound, Black influencers, and basically, dare I say, exploiting our culture for their monetary gain. These employees are now speaking and they're finding their voice, because what they're not doing is waiting for their business to patiently, they're not waiting for you to patiently give them permission. The business, I always keep saying this, like the businesses and the leaders who get ahead with this, they're the ones that have set up listening forums already. They're the ones that are every day thinking about how they can centre the voices of their Black employees. They're the ones that have already done that, actually. So they've moved on from the whole discussion bit, and they've said to their board, to the rest of their business, this is not on and we have to do differently and we have to do better. Check in with me in a week's time, let me tell you how we're doing. Check in with me in 2 weeks' time, let me tell you what sort of plans we're trying to put in place. Those are the leaders, they are the businesses who are showing real intent behind their words. You know what I mean? So they're not just relying on social media, they're not just being quick with the Twitter comment. Do you know what I mean? They're really putting in some work. They're engaging with the right people. They're listening to their employees. They're bringing in people who can understand about race and the complexities about race, not just, your bog standard D&I person who's been doing this for years but actually made their name in gender or other parts of the conversation. They are genuinely committing to, we want to do something better and different to improve the experiences of our Black colleagues within their business. So that's what they're doing. But for the few that are doing that, there are lots of businesses that still have not got the memo. So they are unfortunately thinking to themselves, well, we can take our time, and when we're ready, and we may never be ready, because you know what, I'm still not 100% sure that I get all of this stuff. Like, I get it, but I'm not sure. So while they're still mulling it through, their employees are going, that's fine, you take your time. But we are going to start talking about what life is really like here, working under your leadership, working for you. And so they're creating anonymous Twitter handles, they're creating anonymous Instagram handles, because what you have to remember, and I was talking to my mum about this morning actually, is that she was saying back in her day, as black people, when you experience these things, you used to think to yourself, well, it's just me. Do you know what I mean? Because you didn't have any other way of validating your experience to realise that it wasn't just you. Whereas now, we're living in a social media world where it's very easy to see if another black person, even if they're far, far, far away from you, is having the same experiences that you are. And then when you realise it's not just you, you then go, hold on a minute, that's not on. Do you know what I mean? And now they're going, the safety in numbers. I keep saying this, the safety in numbers, because there are lots of black people who are sharing their experiences. And through doing that, they're encouraging other black people to use their voice in whatever way, shape they feel. You know, I'm using my voice through video. Some people are using their voice through writing articles. Some people are using their voice through setting up social media handles where they can specifically talk about this. Some people are hosting webinars. They're hosting offline sessions and spaces whereby they are gathering black people together and going, you know, what are we going to do about this? But first off, what is life like for you? So all of this is going on. And I want to use this as an example to say that this is where the tide is shifting now, because there are a lot of employees that are not waiting anymore for their businesses to step up. And if they're feeling impatient with the pace that you're going at, they're going to take matters into their own hands now, and they're going, right, I'm going to start talking. And when I start talking, I know my other colleague is going to start talking. And the other thing is, it's not just black people. There are non-black people, supporters, allies, whatever the phrase, who have seen how their black colleagues are being treated, and they're going, enough is enough. So I'm going to start talking about some of the things that I've seen, right? Some of the meetings that I've been in, some of the words that I've heard directors use, some of the phrases that I've heard directors use when my black colleague is not in the room. So this is where it's really important for you to think about your brand perception and your brand reputation. And if you think that the only work you have to do is put together a statement, like a few posts on social media, send an internal memo to say that, you know, I stand in solidarity, that's not enough. But also, more importantly, if you do that and you are taking steps, baby steps, your employees may call out your bullshit. They might call out and say that you're a hypocrite, because this is exactly what Black at Nike is doing. Because the employees have had enough of having a brand lauded as saying they're pro-social justice. Everyone uses them as an example of what it is to stand on the, you know, at the forefront of social causes. And the employees are going, actually, do you know what? Let me just talk to you about what really happens here. Let me just talk to you about how the white senior leadership team talk about black people. Let me just talk about how my life is when I'm in a store selling trainers or sneakers the other side of the pond. So don't watch that. Watch what I'm telling you. So there's a lesson to be learned in that. And as I said, I will, when I post this video on LinkedIn, I've got some screen grabs, so I'll share that as a part 2. I'm not surprised by anything any of the employees were sharing. Honestly, I'm not. And I'm sharing deliberately because if this is what it takes to push leaders to be better, to push businesses to be better, to take this seriously, then that's what I'm going to do. Do you know what I mean? Because yes, I want to encourage leaders to be better, but I also want to encourage black people for us to start using our voice in whatever way that we feel necessary, in whatever way that we feel comfortable, because that is the only way we're going to push for change. Because we can't afford to just wait for leadership teams to magically get it. Because for every time, I keep saying this, for every time, every extra day, every extra week, every extra month that they take, our lives do not get any better. And I don't know about you, but I'm done waiting. See you tomorrow.